Hello, I'm Garry Wise from SlawTips, Wise Law Blog, and Wise Law Office in Toronto. I am fortunate to be joined again by Sandra Beckor, President of Beckor Management, a Toronto firm that specializes in marketing, practice development, and strategic planning for lawyers and other professionals throughout the nation. Sandra, let's talk about marketing in general terms. What do lawyers who are thinking about marketing need to know about the process, what it can bring to them, and what their involvement in it needs to be?
Okay, this is a very, very big topic. I'm sort of going to slice it up into a few pieces. So the first thing, what do they need to know about marketing is what you do with your marketing plan affects who walks in the door.
What is marketing in terms of a law practice?
Marketing is getting your message out there through the vehicles that you choose. So as an example, your website is a vehicle. And that's part of your marketing plan. If you have a blog, that's a vehicle. If you tweet, that's a vehicle. If you send your brochures out to your referral network, that's a marketing activity.
But your key point then is you need to figure out what the message is, and then get it onto those vehicles for a ride.
Yes.
Okay, so how does a law firm figure out what its message is?
Well, this is a very introspective exercise, and I have a bunch of clients that call me their business psychologist
Hmm.
because we go very, very deep with this. The problem the problem with marketing messages is the way I'm going to describe it is you need to understand what your point of difference is. You need to understand what your strengths are. And most firms will take that explanation that I just gave and do it on a very superficial level. And I'm not saying most law firms, I'm saying most professional practices will take that approach.
Right.
And you can go out there and test my theory because all you have to do is pick any five firms that are in the same area and look at what they're saying about themselves on their websites. And the unfortunate truth is most of them are saying almost exactly the same thing because they're staying on that surface level. And what they've done is they've tried to understand what their client wants to hear. And because they're all playing in the same area, they all come up with that same short list. So their marketing messages end up looking very similar to each other.
And you're suggesting a marketing message that's more descriptive and authentic about who the firm
Right.
is.
Yes. And exactly. And the difference between that is when you're more authentic, first of all, if you really are authentic, then the prospective client will know when they make the phone call or they send the email, the experience that they're having with you is consistent with what you promised them. And I like to compare this to going on blind dates. So,
Okay.
okay,
Do you do those a lot?
no,
Okay, just wondering. Carry on.
if you read, okay, let's say you read a profile about somebody and you come up with some conclusions about, who they are. You have a first phone call and your phone call sort of jives with that profile. You're like, oh, okay, they said they like blue and he told me his favorite t-shirt is blue. Okay, just as a stupid example.
And
And then
long walks along the courtroom beach and stuff like that.
and he still likes them.
Yes.
Okay. And then he asks you out for your first date and he does ask for that walk on the beach or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a consistency and a depth with each experience that tells you that what you heard is true. And so in marketing, it's the same thing. If you say something on your website and then the experience on the phone call, oh, okay, we're courteous and we're prompt, and then the first thing they experience is that you're maybe not so prompt about getting back to them,
Right.
or you weren't as friendly as you said you were. These little things start to tell people that there wasn't a lot of thought put into that marketing, and it's not actually who you really are. Even if they don't get that on a conscious level, they still get it.
So you'll spend some time then trying to assess and articulate the true character of a firm,
Yes,
what it's really all about.
right.
Okay.
What are the
And
gold nuggets?
right, and then how does that get reflected in whatever marketing materials you might then create?
Well, part of our work is also about doing some market research. So once we understand, what are the priorities of the firm, where are they going, we need to understand their environment. So you can't put together marketing messages, in isolation. You need to understand what are the competitive firms saying, what can you find out about the prospective clients, what do they say about themselves. That also is an important learning. And what are the trends in the marketplace. Once you've done all that research, then you can start thinking about, how do I articulate.
And how do you handle a firm that might have more than one or two different lawyers who have totally opposite strengths and totally polar personalities? Is it possible to define one central message about a firm that has such a wide variety of contributors?
That is such a great question. Honestly, it's a great question, because I believe that there is a lot of controversy about this topic. And my point of view is that there absolutely needs to be that overriding flagship message about the firm. And I know that there are some marketing professionals that don't agree with this point of view, and they believe that, the scenario you just described. So let's say you have three lawyers that are partners in a firm, and they're very different in their styles, they have different areas of practice. Then maybe there doesn't need to be that flagship message, and you should be marketing just the professionals and their areas of practice. I personally don't believe that that's the right way to go. And what I do believe is that there's a reason that those professionals practice together. So when you go through this introspective exercise, I have worked with clients that are at other ends of
The spectrum.
the spectrum, in
Yeah.
terms of character, in terms of the way that they operate, in terms of their style, in terms of who they want to work with. And at the end of this exercise, I always find a common bond. There's always a reason why they chose to work together, and it's a strong one.
And how do you feel about supplementing the message that comes from that common territory by additional vehicles that are more individual specific?
That works. That works particularly if they're operating in different areas of practice. So, marketing has some hierarchy to it. You have the highest level message, which is about your firm, and that should carry through in everything. And then you have your positioning statements by area of practice. And sorry, I know that's a marketing term, but essentially what that means is, in each area, you would say, um, who are we? What are we good at? Why are we different from our competitors? So that message sort of changes a little bit when you get into more specialized areas of the practice.
Um, what about the firm where almost everybody is on board about becoming modern with their marketing, but there might be some resistance from one or two people? Um, how do firms bring those individuals onto the same page with regard to marketing?
Well, actually, you know what? This is a very important question, because when law firms think about marketing, they think of it as an outward exercise. And that's only half of the battle. The other half is the inward. And so going through a marketing exercise, once you're finished and you're clear on what it is that you're doing, you need to launch it inside first. And you really need to launch it, which means that the principals need to be clear with everybody in the firm about, what is the vision here? Why are we doing this? Why does it mean something to us? And they need to get back into their values, the culture of the firm, to talk about what is the relevance of this marketing plan to everybody in the room. And, I have clients that have gone so far as to say, here is the role that each of you are going to play in it, and why is that your role?
And then at the end of the day, you have a plan. How do you monitor return on investment, success, and whether an overall marketing plan is working for a law firm?
Well, to measure success, the first thing you need to do is to decide what is success. And there isn't one answer for
What's the
every.
success that you're seeking, in other
Right.
words? Yeah.
Decide what is that success first. And once you're clear on it, then you can start creating some benchmarks. and they're called KPIs, so key performance indicators.
Right.
And you can establish these benchmarks for everything that you spend money or time on. Okay?
Did just you're mentioning KPIs and marketing catchphrases, and thankfully we haven't heard too many of those from you in
I've
this
got lots of
in this.
others.
I'm sure you do. But how well does traditional marketing theory and practice translate to the legal profession?
How well does it translate?
Yeah, do lawyers are lawyers just another industry to be marketed, or do you have to make adjustments to work with law firms from your usual marketing approaches?
Well, I don't have to make adjustments because that's how we practice. My firm only works with professional practices. But absolutely, marketing for professional practices is different from marketing for packaged goods companies or other types of businesses. There are sensitivities. First of all, professional obligations to professional bodies, and that that is so important that it needs to be carried through to, the biographies, to the promises that you make on your website, but it needs to become ingrained in anybody that feeds the marketing plan. So even if people are going to be blogging, if they're going to be tweeting, if they're going to be giving seminars, they need to be trained on what can you do, what can't you do, and what goes beyond the sensitivities in terms of obligations and follows through on the culture of the firm. So some firms want to go many steps beyond.
Yeah, and I mean, I would simply add to that that we've all seen bad marketing for lawyers online. YouTube is filled with so-called funny commercials and the like that lawyers do. But I think it's important, especially in a Canadian context, because it's part of our legal culture, that whatever marketing we do not only sheds a positive light on the firm itself, but also on the
On the
profession.
profession.
And I think I'm glad to hear that that's it's obviously a sensitivity for you, but and the way you operate, which is really really good. But it's always been the concern about lawyers and advertising that the content isn't going to be at the standards that the profession would like to see it at. So I think that's another argument in favor of bringing professionals into doing your marketing work. So this has been a really insightful dialogue, and I really want to thank you for that. So we will get together for another talk in the next little while. I again thank you, Sandra Beckor, for joining us. I'm Garry Wise. You take care out there.
Bye.